learning empathy is the key to living a creative and amazing and loving, kind life. It's the root of it.
Trista was an acute care nurse before founding sustainable clothing brand Reclamation. She is a self-taught designer and businesswoman, and she's passionate about helping others achieve their dreams and create the life they truly deserve to live. She can be found gardening, reading, and exploring the beauty of Vancouver Island on her time off. In this episode, we talk about Trista's journey from struggling young single mother to finding her purpose and founding her company. You're listening to Going Conscious, the podcast where we discover new ways to live a more conscious life of fulfillment and freedom. Each week, I speak with entrepreneurs, academics, and changemakers who have made big transformations, left unfulfilling lives behind, and found meaning in this new world where purpose drives success. Let's get inspired to live our unique journeys to the fullest. Let's explore the impact we want to make and deepen our understanding of ourselves, each other, and this beautiful world around us. Live your freedom. I'm your host, Nikki Trott. In this episode, we talk about becoming an adult learner, overcoming limiting beliefs, learning empathy, surrendering to guidance, greenwashing, aligning with your values, the change coming in the fashion industry, getting over being too busy, and connecting with plants and nature. Now let's go to our conversation. Hi, Trista. Welcome to Going Conscious.
Hello, Nikki. So happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm really excited to have you here. So, you were an acute care nurse for 10 years before you founded your sustainable clothing brand, Reclamation. I would love to hear a bit about what took you on that journey from care nurse to founding your company.
Absolutely. So I have had many lives. I had a child when I was 20 years old, and there was a time when I was a single mom on welfare and just really struggling, not connected to myself or others at all, and really did not have any perspective about who I was or what I wanted in life. So one day when I was about 27, maybe, I had this dream. And in the dream, I was walking down this hallway and I was a nurse in this dream. And I mean, I did not like poop. I did not like blood. I was not even a caring individual. But I found myself in this dream where I was walking down this hallway corridor and I was wearing this nursing outfit and I was a nurse in my dream. And the feeling that I had in that dream was so powerful. I had never been that connected. I had never felt so much joy and purpose as I did in that dream. And I don't know if you've ever had a really powerful dream like that, where you wake up and you can remember all of it. And it made me want to become a nurse. So I enrolled in nursing school soon after that dream and embarked on this journey of becoming a nurse and overcoming so many limiting beliefs about myself. Like I had hardly, honestly, I don't even know how I graduated high school. I was never an academic. I didn't like learning. I didn't like homework. So becoming an adult learner was just so new for me. And I just found so much passion and joy in learning and educating and then becoming a professional. And from my journey and my experience as a nurse, I really learned to overcome those limiting beliefs and to become empathetic, to like line up with my compassion and like all of those things that were within me. So those years that I spent as a nurse really prepared me for this journey that I'm on now and for experiencing, these higher levels of consciousness and connection that I have with myself, with the world, with other people, yeah, it was just a real unfolding for me.
Wow, that dream sounds incredible. So, how did your dream then lead you to overcoming your limiting beliefs? How were you able to integrate that into your life and the decisions that you made?
I really believe the biggest part of the change in me and for me was learning empathy and learning that I am an empathetic human and that within us all is the capacity and the desire to be empathetic and compassionate and kind and of service to other people and to the world. So I really believe that it taught me how I want to show up in the world, how I want to live in the world and as a piece of what makes the world go round. And it was really learning to foster those connections with other humans and just being immersed in a way of life that was about caring for others in their deepest need, which is really transformative. Like, honestly, being so raw and going so deep with other humans was what I needed because at the time of going into nursing, I had no idea how to do that. I had no idea that I was capable of going that deep. And when I say that, I'm talking about when you are with someone, truly with someone present, caring for them in their deepest time of need, which is often when we are sick, when we are dying, when our family members or loved ones are sick or are dying. That is one of our greatest times of needs. So being a part of that expanded me in all ways. Just even the smallest thing, like washing another human being, being with another human being and caring for them in that, rawest way when they cannot care for themselves, they cannot wash themselves, they cannot brush their own hair or teeth. And you are that person that is doing that for them and caring for them in that way. That was what I needed as a human. I needed to find that connection and to find that capability in myself.
Wow, incredible. What does empathy mean to you, Trista? Because it's a word that's used so much. And I'm wondering, with all the experience you've had, what is empathy?
For me, well, I mean, I feel that the exact definition of what empathy is learning to walk in the shoes of others, learning to feel what others may be feeling and treat them accordingly. So, being able to walk in somebody else's shoes and feel what they may be feeling. And that's everything that a nurse or a healthcare professional needs to be. We must be able to feel empathy and practice empathy on the deepest of levels. And I really firmly believe that learning empathy is the key to living a creative and amazing and loving, kind life. It's the root of it. And I never knew what it meant before I entered into healthcare. I had never even heard the word. So I think that, it can be easy for us to confuse, the words like pity for empathy and the feelings of feeling sorry for somebody or pitying them or like feeling bad for them. But that's not what empathy is. Empathy is a feeling. It's the deepest compassion that you can feel for someone and the deepest caring. It's about having the ability and the capacity to actually put yourself in somebody else's position and what they're experiencing and to really connect with them on that very deep level.
And so, what took you from this incredible experience as an acute care nurse to then founding your sustainable clothing brand? How did you make that transition and why?
I loved being a nurse so much. It was really, it had been my dream, right? And I was so proud of what a great nurse I was. I just, honestly, that job was like an extra limb for me. And when I left that job, it was as if that limb had been amputated. And I actually felt like I had phantom limb pain, which is something that amputees experience, where the limb is gone, but you still feel the limb and you still feel the pain of having lost that limb. I had another child, and my husband, he worked away a lot. So he would be gone for sometimes a couple of months at a time. He was a heli logger, and I was home with my kids. And I just, as a new mom, I had 2 older kids, so I hadn't had a baby for a long time. And I just couldn't bear to leave my child and go back to shift work with my husband being away. So I shelved it. I retired from nursing. I didn't renew my license. I said I was never going to go back. And I became a stay-at-home mom. We had another child. So for many years, I sewed as a hobby. When my little one was just a baby, I was kind of tired of staying home and I was a bit bored. So I started making clothes, and I had never made clothes before. I just learned off YouTube. So I started making just little baby dresses and selling them at little boutiques just for some extra money. And we didn't have any money back then. So I would sell these little clothes on consignment at some boutiques around my town. And it kind of got in my blood. Like it was addictive to create something that somebody else wanted to buy. And then I remember, like, I would spend hours and hours. I'd be up all night creating these little baby frocks, like upcycled baby clothes from old adults' clothes. And I would take them to these little shops, and then I'd go collect my money. And, it was like a couple $100 a month or something. But I just remember being so thrilled that I was making extra money for groceries or for this and that. And I felt such gratitude to create something that someone wanted to buy and wanted to wear. And I remember I made this overall suit, and it was this like really weird like set of overalls that was a dress. And I saw this woman in my town walking towards me down this busy street, and she was wearing this overalls dress that I had made. And I was so excited, and I stopped her and I was like, I made that dress. Thank you for buying it. And she looked at me like I was crazy. And I mean, she's like, these clothes I was selling for, I was probably making like cents an hour, like 5 cents an hour to make these clothes, because it took me so long because I was YouTubing how to sew. But the fact that somebody wanted to sell them and other people were buying them created in me this entrepreneurial magic that I just really longed to share with the world. And it took a really long time. I did it sort of as a hobby, and it grew and evolved, and it was a number of years. And it was only maybe like 4 years ago that I really started, amping up my game and started like getting serious about making dresses. But even 4 years ago, I was maybe making like $10,000 a year, making dresses for people that took hours and hours and hours and making like very little profit. But there was such love for it. And every dress that I sold, every contact that I made, every little piece of that was like another step forward on this path and like on this road. And in me, I knew that there was somewhere that I was getting. I couldn't tell you where it was or if there was a plan, but it was like in my heart, I felt that I was going somewhere. I just didn't have a clear vision of like where that road was leading. But my whole life, ever since I was young, I was always searching, and I was always like looking around. What am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to be? I know I'm supposed to be somebody. And I never truly felt like I had found her and I had like connected with her until maybe a few years ago, fully. I feel like I finally just began living in this light of my own illumination. And I had like truly connected to this very deep truth about who I am and where I'm going and the path that I wish to take. And I can't tell you the exact moment that I realized this, but I can tell you that it felt like hands upon my shoulders. And ever since then, I feel this set of hands upon my shoulders guiding me at all times. And I know that that is my true self saying, like, you're on the right path. Like, keep going. This is where you're supposed to be.
Wow, that's incredible. This feeling of hands on your shoulders guiding you and knowing that's your true self. Are there any challenges that you have in listening and trusting your true self sometimes? Or is that something that you've really just been able to surrender to?
No, I actually don't feel like there's any challenges. I just really feel this complete belief and this just complete faith that every place I go, everything I try, it all is just part of it. And I mean, I still have to do hard things just like everyone else, but I feel that I've let go of a lot of my resistance in doing hard things and I enjoy it more. And I just have really settled into that surrendering of like loving what is, whatever that looks like. So, over this last year, we've been met with so much uncertainty and, those scared, hard feelings that everybody in the world cannot escape. And like every single person in the world has probably felt it at some point over this last year. But even in that uncertainty, I choose to see possibility and potential. And I haven't struggled like I may have, 3-4 years ago. And a lot of it has to do with that surrendering to belief that I'm okay, we're all okay, no matter what happens ever to me, for me, I'm always okay.
That's so beautiful, Trista. And I love how you describe how you've really been able to surrender to this journey. And that's something I've been working on as well, on really surrendering and allowing yourself to be guided. And I found that sometimes I'm really flowing in that. And then other times the mind can kick in with old patterns. And I have to really remind myself to ground back into my surrender, and that it always takes me to places beyond what I could have thought up in my mind as well. And I love seeing how that's happening for you. I mean, your company Reclamation is doing so incredibly well and grown to quite a size, and it's really incredible to see. If you enjoy Going Conscious, please subscribe for a new episode every Wednesday. If you think your friends and networks would benefit from listening, please share this podcast of fulfillment and freedom with them. And if you listen on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review. It's great to read what you think, and your support makes a big difference. Together, let's grow our courage and tools to transform and live the lives we really want to. As well as creating Going Conscious, I work as a transformation coach and conscious brand consultant. I'm on a mission to help holistically maximize conscious entrepreneurs to drive positive changes for themselves, others, and the planet. I can help you to transition and level up personally, and I can help your brand grow and make a bigger impact. To connect with me and find out more about how we can work together, find me on Instagram at Nikki Trott or on my website, nikkitrott.com. Please get in touch. I'd love to hear from you, and let's talk about your path of growth and development. So, with my background in fashion as well, and having left that industry because I felt it didn't align with my values with the brands I was working with, which were, big traditional brands driven by profit. How can clothing be really sustainable?
We started off as like fully sustainable. So we create many of our pieces using vintage fabrics. And I have such a love for antique and vintage lace and, previously loved things. So we really started there. We had to scale into other directions as well because the need was just becoming so great that we now use new fabrics as well. So I actually don't believe that there's any brand that I've come across or heard of that's fully sustainable. I think there's like a lot of sort of gray area. I don't know what people call it, greenwashing or something like that. And I don't love that because I feel that it can really diminish what some amazing companies are trying to do with sustainability. So, we are very ethical. And I would say 50% of what we do is using vintage lace. They're actually tablecloths and bed covers and like antique curtains and things like that.
Wow. I love
It's
some of the lace I've seen is
yeah, it's really
incredible.
cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool, and we buy it, from all over the world. And I've met so many amazing vintage sellers, and I love that I'm supporting just everyday people who are not in fashion. They're like vintage sellers, or they're just eBay sellers or Etsy sellers, or people who are have a side hustle, selling vintage items. And like, it's not cheap. It is sometimes, I think the most I've paid for one tablecloth was about $550 Canadian for one piece of lace from France.
Wow.
So I love that I'm contributing to like the global economy in that sense. I'm helping the little guy who's got this side hustle or this extra job make extra money through fashion and through building this brand. We also have branched out to manufacturing in Vietnam, and I've aligned with a very small boutique factory where there's probably about 6 or 7 women employed there. Many of them are single moms, and I know that it's an ethical factory. I know that what I'm paying contributes to not a minimum wage, but like an actual living wage, instead of manufacturing in places that are going to be way cheaper and that I'm going to make a profit. It's not as much profit driven as like, I wish to align with people like myself who, with values and like core beliefs. And I want to know that I'm contributing to them and to like their life and to them having a better life and their families, not that I'm gaining all this profit here in Canada and they're working for $1 an hour, if that. So that's some of the things that we continue to do and work towards. And here we employ local designers that come to our studio and create most of our pieces. So I'd say like 80% of what we create is done right here, made in Canada, like right in our own home. So that's fun. We've got a real family going here, and that makes me feel good that I'm also contributing to our local economy and that I'm paying well and that people are able to have like a decent life because of what I've created. So it's definitely not all profit driven, which once you scale to that large type of brand that you're speaking of, I think, a lot of it is. But I really feel that there's a change coming in fashion, and I've been smelling this change. It's almost like it's in the breeze of more handmade, bespoke, custom, one of a kind, makers versus like huge fashion, and a real demand by the people for like transparency, for brands to step up and be more inclusive, be more about like building community, belonging, the ethical aspect of it.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And it's incredible to see how transparency is increasing so much and also how technology is helping to enable that. And I think you're completely right. What consumers are demanding is changing, and the brands that succeed will be the ones who keep up. So I do also have that positive view. And I'm wondering, as you continue to scale your business, how will you be able to keep the ethical and sustainable focus that you have without diluting that?
I think it's like anything with any business. You can choose to be a CEO or an owner or whatever. You can choose to hire all the people to do all of the things, and you can kind of, take on the bits that you just really want to take on, or you can choose to be a CEO or a creator that is immersed in all of the areas to an extent, and to really maintain a control over those values, and say, like, I'm not going to let those values, I'm not going to allow profits or scaling to diminish my values and my core beliefs. I'm going to stay at this level, and I'm of quality and, sustainability. And I'm going to continue to go down this road that is full of meaning and intention and purpose. And that is just the way it's going to be. And if it's a choice between doing that and feeling good about what I'm creating, and maintaining my connection and my community and the culture that I've built and that I've created, versus becoming, just this like multi-millionaire with stores all over the world and this like massive brand that doesn't line up with those beliefs anymore, that's not what I want. That won't make me happy. So I feel that as owners and creators and CEOs of brands, we have to do our due diligence. We have to still be the face of it and the heart of it, if that makes sense.
How do you ensure that you keep your heart within everything that you're doing and your teams, and how you're also delegating and growing and scaling? How do you keep that sense of Trista and your values and the reason that you started this within everything that's done under the company's name?
I just continue to show up. And I hear a lot from people like, oh, time. I have no time. But I don't tell myself that story. I believe that we have all the time in the world for the things that matter, all the time in the world. So I choose to bend time to my own will and my own heart. And I continue to show up. So if it means that I get up at 4:45 every morning so that I can show up for the people that mean something to me, which are my buyers and my followers and my staff, I do that. And I will always do that. So I believe that we have to delegate, and we have to, as we scale and as we grow, it's imperative to add team members to our team that are the same, that have those same values and core beliefs, and that we can teach in many different ways. So we have to outsource. Like, I've done a lot of outsourcing, things that I don't necessarily want to do. Like, I don't clean my house anymore. I outsourced that. I had to let go of a lot of things because no matter what, we aren't going to be capable of doing every little thing. So I choose the things that I prioritize and that I feel are the most important to the brand. One of those things is showing up. So I show up live on my social media umpteen times throughout the week. I am very personal with my buyers. I still reply to every DM that I get on Instagram, every single DM. Someone or DMs me saying that they love the dresses, I reply. I've certainly learned about little hacks that make that easier when I'm replying, but I still reply. And I want to always be that and always do that. I have a full-time assistant. I employ other people in my studio to do things that I can't always do. But I believe that we, as a brand, we have to understand the importance of those things that are meaningful to us, and those things that are really meaningful to our buyers and the users of our products and services. So for my people and my buyers and followers, that's always been having a connection to me. And that's how we grew so fast and so strong, was I showed the desire to have a connection with my followers and buyers. And I have that genuine desire. So I continue to show up, and I continue to show up. I continue to talk to them on the phone. I continue to make their bespoke, one-of-a-kind creations that, they love so dearly, and that makes them feel like magic. And I will always continue to find ways to show up like that, because that is where I find my joy. So I think like as brands, and we are all brands, if we have something to sell, a service, whatever it is, like we are a brand, and it's important for us to establish what's important to us as people and brands, and what's important to our audience and to our ideal client, our ideal buyer. How do we merge this? That's the key.
Yes, I love that. And I absolutely love how you talk about bending time. And in our society, it's so easy to be time scarcity in your mindset and really feeling like you're always chasing after time. And it's so true that what you need to do is just choose the right priorities. So then you have an abundance of time. So I love hearing that clarity of how you choose to show up and the time that you choose to put your own investment into, and then where you outsource, where you know you have amazing people who can then support you and help you develop your vision. Bending time. I love it, Trista.
Well, I think that we, and I think it comes a lot to do with like the story that we tell, right? And
yes,
the more we say like, oh, I'm so busy. Oh, that's something that we always say. Oh, I'm so busy. I can't handle this. I'm so busy. What am I going to do? I just can't handle this. I'm too busy. I'm too busy. So instead, we can choose to do the things that are going to make us feel more successful so that we don't feel like we're too busy and, oh my gosh, I can't handle this. I'm just going to die from busyness. And I've been there and I've said those things many, many times. But when I stopped saying those things, when I stopped telling that story of being too busy, not having enough time, and instead I kind of gently yielded that off and like yielded into, I have endless time. I am abundant with time. And I also stopped overwhelming myself with a bunch of stuff that maybe wasn't so important to me, that I didn't need to do and I didn't want to do. So instead of saying yes to all this stuff that I don't want to do, I say no to the things that I don't want to do. If I don't want to do it, if it isn't going to be productive or make me feel good, I don't want to do it. I say no, and I'm okay with that. So I think that we can bend time, and we can also really like gain confidence and feel more successful when we're winning the game, because we feel like we have the time to do all the things, because we never feel truly successful and like content and happy if we feel frazzled all the time and it's like, oh, all this stuff is just piling on top of me. That isn't a feeling of confidence.
Yes, absolutely. Agree so much. And it is completely down to our own mindset, as you say, so we can really take that power back and bend time. So I'm wondering, I also know that you discovered your love of gardening, and I'd love to know what that has taught you and what you've kind of brought from gardening into your own life.
I love plants. I've always loved plants. It's in my blood. My grandma, my great grandma, everyone in my family, all the women all have always loved plants. So I think it's something that I definitely grew up with, was a love for gardening, a love for plants. I love house plants. I love soil. We live on Vancouver Island and it is just glorious and green all the time. So much moss. So I'll go, out my back driveway, there's a trail that goes up to a lookout and it's just full of moss. I'll go for a walk and I'll collect moss to plant in my garden. And just something about trees and plants and being in the soil is so cathartic to me. And it's probably one of the main ways that I enjoy spending time and just connecting spiritually, emotionally, and just like getting to the root of me and relaxing. And same with houseplants. Like I've got hundreds of houseplants and I just love them. And I feel like we can really connect with ourselves if we choose to connect to those types of living beings, just everything that they have to give to us. It's really quite splendid. And I'm always eternally grateful for any time that I get like stroking leaves and soil.
Yes, that's beautiful. One of my wonderful guests on Going Conscious, Janet Lawrence, who's an eco artist, she said, "Stroke a leaf until it strokes you back."
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what you said about how connecting with plants really brings you closer to yourself. I couldn't agree more. I've really found that too. This deeper I'm able to go with nature, the more I understand our shared nature and my own, therefore, and just kind of submerge back into the whole
Yes.
and leave this busy mind.
Yes, and it's really so simple, but I find and I'm definitely guilty of this as well when I get busy of not spending as much time in nature, but it is really so simple that if we just took a little bit more time to do those things, that we really would feel so much better. And I'm a real proponent for understanding what you need to feel better and to just do those things. So, like understanding stress and how stress makes you feel in your body, and then using those feelings as sort of a warning that you need to go and do the things that make you feel better, to like realize where you are in your stressful thoughts, feelings, emotions, and have that list, that arsenal ready, the plants, the
Yes.
leaf stroking, like whatever it is that you need, and just go do that so that you can feel better and then better and then better. And, even if it's something really hard and uncertain that you're facing, you can feel better. You don't have to feel great, but you can feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think that working on that balance and just adjusting over time, more and more being mindful of the time that you have for yourself in nature makes such a big difference to your quality of life, without doubt. So,
Yes.
Trista, as we're coming towards the end of our chat today, I wanted to just ask you a couple of final questions. Firstly, what does personal success look like for you, and how has that changed over this career that you've had?
Success to me is happiness. It's living joyfully in the moment. Because I know that when I am happy, when I feel joyful, when I am in this place of contentment, living in service, feeling good, that I am abundant in every way. So it's always that. It always comes down to the root of just being happy in the moment and loving what is versus what could be or what was, just loving what is. That's the root of it. And I know that when I'm in that space and that place, then all the other abundant little puzzle pieces fit together, like the money, the time, the people, the relationships, opportunities, that all just flows to me. So I really focus on feeling good.
Yes, I love that. Absolutely. The presence and how it completely changes our energetic frequency and the way that we're able to experience our life. And by not focusing on where we want things to go and what our end goal is and what we're trying to achieve next, but
Yes.
being really grounded in where we are now, really grateful for what that is, what that means to us, and then allowing ourselves
Yes.
to be taken on our journey towards where we're going, but not living for the future.
Yeah, because the future has not happened. It could go a million different ways. And we can be in our heads analyzing which way we want to go, what's the best way to get there. I don't do that. I really don't do that. I don't want to live like that. And I don't need to, because everything that I have in this moment right now is everything that I need. And I believe that. I have faith in that. That's how I've gotten to where I am. So I know that if I just stay there, everything will work out in the best possible way.
Yes, amazing. Ah, I love it. Trista, do you have a book that you can recommend to us that's inspired you or something you've read recently?
Yeah, well, I love books so much. I am a real book junkie. I probably read about 2 books a week. I love audiobooks. So something that I love and that I just read, I actually read the audio, I had the audiobook and I read the book version, and it is A Mind at Home with Itself by Byron Katie. I love the work of Byron Katie. She is just so amazing, and her story, which she tells in this book, is truly just so fantastic and magical.
Thank you. I haven't read it. I'm adding it to my list now. Thank you so much.
Yeah, her teaching is so fantastic, and to listen to her. I also love like authors where you can binge on what they've put out there. So she has just like probably hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos as well that I like to binge on.
Great. And I love the title as well. I look forward to checking it out. Trista, last but not least, where can we find you online?
You can go to my website, www.wearereclamation.com, or Instagram is Reclamation Design Company.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been really wonderful sharing this time with you. And thank you for joining us on Going Conscious.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, Nikki.
I hope you enjoyed this episode with Trista. I love how she talks about surrendering to guidance, which has been such an important topic in a few recent Going Conscious episodes, which might have got you thinking about how surrender plays its part in your life. Do you trust your intuition, or does your mind get in the way? Hearing Trista's journey of how she started sewing and taught herself to building $1 million sustainable brand is a wonderful reminder that when we follow what we truly love and what lights us up inside, we uncover our path and our purpose. I also really enjoyed hearing about how Trista connects with plants and nature and the benefits this has for her in her life. Since I interviewed Monica Gagliano in episode 16 of Going Conscious, I've been deepening my connection with plants and trying to open up to receiving their consciousness more and more. If you haven't listened to that episode too, give it a listen. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe now. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star rating and short review. If you think people you know might benefit from listening to Going Conscious, please share it with them. I know I get much of my inspiration from podcasts which are shared with me. For all episodes, our library and more, visit goingconscious.com. Your support to spread this positive message of fulfillment and freedom means so much. As well as hosting Going Conscious, I help conscious entrepreneurs to transition and unleash their power and purpose with my transformation coaching and conscious brand consulting work. Discover more on Instagram at Nikki Trott or on my website, nikkitrott.com. I'd love to hear from you and to talk about your goals, questions, or how we can work together. And if I don't hear from you before then, see you next Wednesday on the next episode of Going Conscious. As always, live your freedom.